folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. I'm going to talk about an unknown one to a lot of folks. It's the Farlander Papers, written by Roussel de Maria. And this basically came in the limited edition of the game X-Wing, a very old computer game that was very popular back in the day, where you get to fly around as an X-Wing pilot. And the X-Wing pilot in question here was called Ken Farlander. So hence the Farlander Papers. Now, basically it talks a little bit about, gives a background of Farlander and who he is, how he came to be with the rebellion and whatnot. But then also it goes on, if you get the strategy guide, the X-Wing strategy guide actually reads as a book. This is so smart. For their instructions, they decided to make a book about it. So you're basically reading the adventures of Farlander and learning the game, or learning tips about each mission as you move forward. And story, I put a loose word on it because, of course, he gets this mission, he goes on it. They tell you basically word for word what it said, then he comes back. There's not much dialogue in between. There's a setup, the action for the scene, and then the next, and a how to play, in a way. It's pretty smart, though, at the same time, too, because you would never expect a strategy guide to have something like this in it. I know I sure didn't, and I found this out with Pablo Hidalgo's guide to the expanded universe. When I had opened it up and read it for Christmas, that was one of the things that caught my eye. I was like, wait a minute, those strategy guides have EU material in them? Ooh. Now, the Farlander Papers was kind of hard to get. I found it on eBay, and in the picture it had the Farlander Papers. And I asked him, I said, is that a stock photo? Is that the actual photo of what you're selling? That's the actual photo. So I bought it, he sent it to me, and it didn't have the Farlander Papers in it. And I chewed him out. I said, this is the only reason I bought it, because it had the Farlander Papers in it. You said it was the picture that was online was the picture. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I had two copies. I sent you the wrong one. Whatever. Anyway, I did get the Farlander Papers, but then I found out it's in the X-Wing strategy guide, and there's a more drawn out story in the strategy guide. So do you need the Farlander Papers? Not really. You just need that strategy guide, which is super cheap to find. Now, Ken Farlander is an okay character. They actually bring him back in he makes a few other appearances up to New Jedi Order, which I didn't even know back then. Because even though I knew about the game X-Wing, I may have played it once. I don't know. I didn't have many of the Star Wars games growing up because I just didn't have that much interest. I thought the X-Wing game was pretty fun, and if my mom and dad would have bought it, I probably would have played it all the way through, but they didn't have that one. We had other games to play. Like I've mentioned, Wolfenstein, Doom is what I really spent most of my time on the computer playing, and Age of Empire too. But so X-Wing kind of missed the boat for me. But it still was a decent game, as I recall, and a lot of people did love it. Now, Ken Farlander wasn't a household name. He didn't grow into a big, huge fan base like Kyle Katarn did from Dark Forces, but he's still an interesting character. So should you get this book? Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's very cheap and it's expanded universe, so if you like both of those, go for it. Is it outstanding? No, but it was really neat to see how they wrote the strategy guide like that. I remember where I was when I read this. I was actually doing a show for the theater, and I didn't have that many scenes, I remember, and had a lot of downtime backstage. So backstage, I would just read the strategy guide, which was really a story, but everyone thought, man, you were really into X-Wing. Is that a newer book? Is that a newer game? A bunch of younger kids are like, is that a new game? No, it's an old computer game. Okay, you're playing it? No, I'm just reading it for the story. They probably thought, dude, this guy is weird. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it because it felt like a book, the thickness of it. It read similar to an adventure story, even though you could see it was basically just, a guide, what it was supposed to be. But I really love the idea of what they said, because guides are useless, right? You pick it up, or nowadays you just go on YouTube and find out how to, work something or make it through a level. You don't buy a guide anymore. So why not put fiction in it? I think that's a smart idea, and that's what more guides should be doing. I don't know, because I haven't picked up a guide. I don't even know if they still make them. But if they do, put some fiction in there. Put something else in there that they may want to pick up that guide for. May work. Anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time.